Hey guys, tonight we're going to a place that isn't quite on any map, yet somehow has never closed its doors. You stumble into it after dusk, maybe on your way back from something else, an old road trip detour, a walk you don't remember starting. There's a golden glow ahead, soft and buttery, spilling out from behind lace-curtained windows. You smell cinnamon and warm bread, and for a moment you think, that's strange. I wasn't even hungry until now. It's a bakery, or
at least looks like one. The kind you'd expect in a neighborhood with chiming bicycles and porch swings.
a chalkboard sign out front reads, "Fresh baked. Since 1973, try the memory loaf." Yeah, you chuckle. Memory loaf? Sounds like something a startup would name a therapy app. But your feet are already moving. Your fingers curl around. The doorknob, brass, warm to the touch like it's been held by someone just moments ago. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment. Where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it there? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You push the door open, and the bell above gives a soft, reluctant chime. Not the crisp jingle of modern shops. No, this one is deeper, duller, almost organic, like the sound a spoon makes in a thick jar of honey. You step inside. The scent is overwhelming, but not unpleasant.
Nutmeg, yeast, burnt sugar, like French toast made by someone who never learned to measure.
There's no one behind the counter, but the lights are on, and the overhead fan spins lazily above, stirring nothing in particular. The place feels recently used. Flour dusts the countertop in half-swirled shapes, like someone had been kneading. Dough then stopped mid-movement. There's an old wooden cash register, open, with no money inside, only a folded napkin and a single red button. You walk past the display case. Every shelf is full, but no two pastries are the same. Some look like things you've seen in fancy cafes, danishes, croissants, soft rolls with caramelized tops. Others are harder to place. A loaf shaped like a house, a muffin with what appears to be a small, closed keyhole baked into its side. Your phone buzzes briefly, but when you check it, nothing. No notifications, no bars. The screen flickers, then settles on your lock screen photo of your mum's hands pulling bread from the
oven. You blink. That picture isn't on your phone anymore, hasn't been in years. You should leave, you think.
But you won't. Not yet. There's a hallway beyond the kitchen. Faint light spills from under a swinging door. You hear a low hum, almost like singing, but not melodic. More like someone remembering a song than singing it out loud. You move. Closer. The tiles under your shoes creak a little, but not with age, more like reluctance. The air grows warmer, but not hotter, just heavier. Like the kind of warmth you feel when someone's staring at you with a memory they haven't voiced yet. You pass a wall of Polaroids, dozens, maybe hundreds. Smiling faces, each holding some pastry. But there's something odd. Every one of them is taken at the same angle, same lighting, same shadows. Some of the people wear 70s collars and feathered hair. Others, Bluetooth earbuds and Patagonia fleeces. One girl's holding a 2005 flip phone. One man's got a 2023 Tesla hat, but the background, always the same vintage wallpaper. There's a blank space where a photo was clearly torn off. Beneath it, in delicate handwriting, "To the one who never remembered." You touch it without meaning to. The wallpaper beneath is warm, and then you hear the oven ding. Not loud, just enough to make your spine straighten. Something's done. Something's ready. You turn to see the counter now has a plate on it. Fresh bread. Steam curling lazily from its crust. No one put it there. But it's there now, and maybe it's the light. Or maybe it's something deeper, but for a second, just a split second, you think you remember the taste. Salty. Sweet. Like a story someone told you in a dream you forgot when you woke up. But the moment passes, and you're not even sure what story you mean. Still your feet don't move. The bakery's air is thick with the kind of silence that waits. And something about that waiting feels familiar. The bread on the counter doesn't cool. You check, more out of curiosity than anything else. But the steam still curls, slow and lazy. The crust still glistens, as though brushed with melted butter just moments ago. It's the kind of thing that should go stale in minutes, but here, time seems to hang like a curtain caught mid-sway. You don't eat it. Not yet. It feels like taking a bite would be a kind of agreement, like signing a contract you didn't read. So instead, you glance back at the door, the one you came through, and realize it's no longer visible. The light from outside has dimmed, or maybe just retracted. Like the bakery's taken a soft breath in and closed the world out behind. You move deeper past the counter now. A wooden shelf holds recipe cards in neat stacks organized by odd categories. Not by flavor or ingredient, but by feeling. Regret, almost there. Last September, only once. You pick one up. Lemon crumb for that day. You chose the other path. It's written in loopy handwriting that looks suspiciously like your aunt's. The one who always knew when you were lying about being fine. You set it back. It feels heavier than it should. The swinging door ahead creaks. It doesn't open, just shifts on its hinge like it's aware of you now. The humming continues.
Louder but not closer. It's not threatening, it's just
expectant. You step through. Behind the kitchen lies a narrow hallway lined with old-timey delivery lockers, the kind you'd find in 1950s school buildings. Each one is labeled, but not with names. Instead, Tuesday's customer who forgot his. Anniversary. Girl who bought sourdough but meant to say sorry. The hungry looker who never came back. You run your fingers along the metal. It's cold, a little too cold for a building this warm. One of the locker doors is slightly ajar. You peek inside. It's empty, except for a paper bag with your initials scrawled on the front. The handwriting looks exactly like yours, but maybe from 5 years ago, like the way you used to write before you stopped caring about curves and loops, and the way your letters lean too far to the left. Inside the bag is a roll. Still warm, still soft, and it smells like the kind of bread your grandmother used to make, only you never told anyone about that, did you? That she once let you knead dough while she played Elvis records in the background, singing off-key and pretending the world was simpler than it was. You don't remember telling anyone, but the bread remembers. You back away, slowly. There's a door at the end of the hall, labeled Employees Only. Naturally, you open it. Inside is the strangest little lounge you've ever seen. There's a plaid couch sagging in the middle, an old tube TV playing static, and a vending machine humming softly to itself. But the machine doesn't hold soda or candy bars. It's filled with memories. Little glass jars labeled with phrases, first dance, but with bare feet. Almost proposed at the airport. Rainstorm that changed everything. You press your hand against the glass. One of the jars flickers as though responding to you. You lean in to read the label. It says, "Smell of fresh dough on the day you left." That's when the static on the TV shifts. And in the flicker, just for a second, a face appears. Not scary, just tired. Like someone who's been waiting a long time for someone else to come back and finish a sentence. You look away. You don't want to finish that sentence. Not yet. Instead, you turn back to the wall where a corkboard hangs, filled with notes from customers. No names, just lines like, "It tastes like the moment before goodbye." "I never saw her again, but I remember the crust." "Every bite made me feel like I almost knew what I was missing." And then one that simply reads, "Do not eat if you want to forget again." Your hands feel warm. You realize you've been holding the roll from the locker this whole time, and it hasn't cooled, hasn't stiffened, it just waits. Somewhere back near the oven, the humming pauses. A soft clatter like trays being shifted. You're not alone, even though you can't see anyone. And then you notice something new. A faint trail of flour leading away from the lounge and into another hallway that wasn't there before. It twists gently, like it's been walked again and again and again. Your feet follow before your mind agrees. And in the silence, you hear it again. That same odd tune. Not quite a song,
Not quite a whisper, but something in you knows every word, even though you've never heard it before.
The flower trail is impossibly precise, too perfect to be casual, yet too careless to feel deliberate. Just a loose, winding path like a ribbon, leading deeper into the belly of the bakery. You follow it, your shoes leaving no prints behind. You notice that now. No prints, no weight. The walls begin to narrow slightly, not enough to alarm you, just enough to press the edges of your awareness. They're lined with faded wallpaper, little strawberries in red and green peeling slightly at the corners. You'd seen that pattern before. On your childhood lunchbox maybe, or the curtains in that one relative's kitchen who always made. You eat everything on the plate. There's a framed photo hanging crooked along the hall. It's a black and white class picture, a group of middle schoolers standing on risers. The year stamped in the corner, 1973. You stop. The kids are smiling, big grins, braces, bowl cuts, clunky shoes. But something tugs at you. The girl in the third row. She's not smiling. She's staring directly at the camera. No, not the camera. At you. She holds a loaf of bread like it's a trophy. Not a baguette or anything fancy. Just a plain, pale loaf wrapped in wax paper. Her other hand rests stiffly by her side. And behind her, something's been scratched out. A blur. A shadow that doesn't belong. You try to move closer, but the photo hums faintly, and your skin prickles like static from an old TV. You keep walking. The hallway opens into a room that shouldn't exist. Not in this building, not in this century. It's a classroom. Desks with carved initials, a dusty chalkboard, a red apple on the teacher's desk, slightly too shiny. You don't remember entering it, but now you're standing there, in the doorway, with the scent of dry erasers and pencil shavings curling in your nose. There's writing on the board, lesson plan, March 14th, 1973, how to remember what matters.
No teacher, no students, but the desks are warm to the touch and you swear one of the chairs just creaked. The air here is nostalgic in a way you can't quite explain. like the moment you first realized you missed someone who hadn't even left yet. A notebook lies open on one desk.
You walk to it. The handwriting is neat and rounded, the kind they used to teach in schools before keyboards took over. The top of the page reads, "Bakery log, memory entry, Nashal 3. She came in again today, didn't buy anything, just stared. Said something about a dream, said I was in it." You turn the page, more logs, each one labeled with a date. Each one referencing someone who visited, ate, forgot, or remembered just enough to feel haunted. You scan the names, but none jump out, until you see one entry that's been highlighted in pink. He came in on a cold Tuesday, didn't speak.
Ate the whole loaf in one sitting, then cried without knowing why. Your hands tremble slightly, because something in you knows. That one was about you.
Even if you can't explain how. You turn to leave the classroom, but the door has changed. Now it opens to a stairwell leading down. Painted in peeling red letters above it, "Staff only, do not descend without intention." You hesitate, just for a second. Then, like all people do when confronted with mysterious stairways and perfectly avoidable mysteries, you descend. The air grows cooler, sharper. You smell damp flour like someone spilled a bag 20 years ago and never cleaned. Your hand trails along the wood railing, which feels recently sanded, but still catches your skin like it remembers every splinter it's ever given. At the bottom, the space opens into a long underground corridor. Brick walls, pipes overhead, and along the left side, more photographs. Hundreds of them, but these are different. Each one is of a single person, eating mid-bite. Faces in various stages of wonder, confusion, sorrow. Their eyes, every one of them, fixed slightly off to the side, not looking at the camera, looking at something or someone. One photo stops you. It's a boy, about 10, sitting at a round wooden table with a milk carton and a half-eaten roll. You don't recognize him immediately, but the longer you stare, the more your stomach drops. It's you. Younger, unmistakably you. Your favorite striped hoodie, the chipped tooth you got from the monkey bars. You remember that day, the school, lunchroom, but you don't remember this. In the corner of the photo is a timestamp, March 14th, 2005. Exactly 32 years after the date on the chalkboard. You stumble back, not because of fear, but because, for a split second, you swear the boy in the photo just blinked, and then, in that perfect, surreal silence of the basement corridor, you hear it again. That hum, not from above, but right beside you. It's coming.
From the brick wall. No, it's behind it. And something tells you you're not the first one who's tried to reach it.
You run your fingers across the brick, slow and cautious. It's old, but not dusty. The kind of brick that's been cared for, scrubbed clean, but not for cleanliness. No, this is the kind of clean that means something is meant to be hidden. The humming is louder now, not mechanical, not human. Like a lullaby hummed by a building that remembers everything but refuses to explain. There's a seam between two bricks that your thumb catches. You press. Nothing. Then you press again, this time with the weight of a question you haven't even formed yet. Click. The wall doesn't open so much as exhale. A section swings inward, revealing a narrow chamber beyond. Warm light floods your
vision. Not harsh, just nostalgic. Yellow like old film. Like every birthday candle you ever blew out, remembered all at once. Inside is a bakery oven. Not just any oven.
The oven. It looks impossibly old and impossibly advanced. the kind of contradiction that only exists in dreams and stories told by unreliable narrators. It hums with life, coils glowing faintly, runes etched along the base in a language that looks suspiciously like cursive handwriting. You step in. The air smells like burnt honey and something more chemical, ozone maybe. Like a thunderstorm passed through this room and stayed. A spiral-bound recipe book sits on a pedestal beside the oven, open to a page that reads, Entry, 104, memory loaf. Batch, consistency, 98.2%, adjust yeast for grief-based variances, bake, until forgotten. Serve with silence. You touch the page, it's warm like the oven is feeding it breath. Beside the book sits a tray. It holds 7 identical rolls. Small, round, slightly golden, and one is missing, an empty space with a faint imprint of crust. You stare. That's the roll you took from the locker upstairs. You hear his soft metallic whir. The oven door is opening. Inside, nothing, just glowing warmth. But something shifts behind you, a rustling. You turn and see a cabinet door slowly swinging open. Inside, an old box labeled Archive, Customer, Bagchabi 172A. You lift the lid. Inside are scraps, an elementary school drawing of a bakery, a report card with a teacher's note. Daydreams too much, but a kind heart. A photograph of your mum, at age 12, holding what looks like the same loaf of bread. You blink, then behind that, a journal entry, handwritten in blue ink. He came today, same eyes, different age, didn't recognize me, didn't remember the role, but he'll be back. He always is. LH, you don't recognize the initials, but you do recognize the handwriting. It's nearly identical to yours, or maybe your mother's, or your grandmother's. That strange, looping signature of your bloodline that always made the G's curl like question marks. You set the journal down. The humming changes pitch, softens, becomes a voice, but not a speaking voice, not language, just tone. It says, "Welcome back," without words, without lips. The walls shimmer faintly, and for a moment you see images, flashes, reflected in the shiny surface of the oven door. A woman kneading dough in silence. A boy licking a wooden spoon. A delivery man with a clipboard standing at the wrong house. A tray of bread left on a windowsill in winter, steam rising into snowfall. Over and over, as if this bakery has been watching everything forever. You reach out to touch the oven door. It's hot, but not painful. You half expect it to pull you in, Alice through the looking glass style, but nothing happens. Instead, the humming lowers, dims, like it's settling. You look around. There's a stool in the corner. An apron, starched and folded, hangs on a hook, labeled, "In case of remembering too much." You sit, and that's when the memory comes. Sharp, sudden. You're 6. You're standing in a different kitchen. There's a pie on the windowsill. Your mum's humming something under her breath. A tune you don't know the words to, but somehow always remember. She cuts a slice and hands it to you. She says, "Don't forget this one. This one matters." And then you're back, sitting in this impossible room, staring into the heartbeat of a bakery that hasn't closed since disco was a thing. You rise and turn to leave, but hesitate, because something tells you, once you walk away from this room, the why might leave with it. Still, you step out. The wall swings silently back into place behind you. When you return to the corridor, the photos are all the same, except one. The one with the boy, you, now shows an empty chair. And underneath it, scribbled newly in sharp red ink, Come back when the crust cracks. You're not sure what that means, but you know you will. Because the humming never really leaves your ears after that, and the smell of bread, it starts following you into dreams. You don't know how long it's been since you left the oven room. Time has thinned into something slippery, like butter left on a warm plate. The hallway seems longer now, or maybe just quieter. But as you pass the photographs again, you realize something new. The faces in the frames aren't just strangers anymore. You recognize one, then another. Not names, just flashes. Your childhood dentist, that guy who worked at the post office, the woman who used to jog past your apartment every Tuesday morning. People you saw, never knew, but who somehow shared a glance, a moment, a crumb, and each of them has that same look. Mid-bite, half present, eyes drifting to a corner you still haven't found. You turn left, following a scent that wasn't there before. Something spicy and sweet. Clove, maybe. Or grief. It leads to a small doorway at the far end of the corridor. Unmarked, when you push it open, it groans. A tired door, the kind that remembers every time it's ever been opened, for the wrong reason. Inside is a room unlike any other in the bakery. This one is covered in chalk. Walls, floor, even the ceiling. Everything is written on. It looks like a child was left alone with a box of memories and no rules. Phrases overlap. Names spiral inward. Dates repeat. Whole paragraphs vanish under newer scribbles. Your eyes catch one sentence, scrawled across the far wall in enormous cursive. She left through the alley behind the bakery in 1981 and hasn't been seen since. Beneath it, smaller. Her bread still arrives every Sunday. You blink. You scan again. There's a chalk outline of a woman, arms outstretched like she was laughing, or reaching. A line of text wraps around her figure like a ribbon. The first to forget was the last to need. You step forward and the floor crunches faintly under your feet. Crumbs, thousands of them, but dry, ancient, preserved. There's a desk in the middle of the room, a school desk, the same kind from that classroom earlier. Only this one has something carved into it. Ask about the song. You sit, and just as you do, the walls begin to sing. Not music, not harmony, but a rhythm, like the tapping of metal trays, like dough being folded, like a heartbeat measured in baking time. You listen, it's a nursery rhyme. You realize this with a jolt. Something almost familiar. The kind that used to be whispered under breath on the school bus. Something about the bread that only rises for the lonely. You mouth the words, not knowing how you know them. 1, for the boy who won't remember. 2, for the girl who dreams in ember. 3, for the hand that never bakes. 4, for the bite the past retakes. You stop, because now the chalk on the walls is moving. The words rearrange themselves, pulling into shapes, lines, directions. An arrow forms on the floor. It points to a cupboard. You follow it, because at this point, resisting feels silly. Inside the cupboard, a single envelope, thick parchment, no stamp, no return address. Just a note written in beautiful black ink. To the one who finally stayed long enough to ask. You open it. Inside, a photo. The same girl from the classroom picture. Older now, maybe 17. Still holding that same loaf, though it's sliced now. She smiles slightly, just barely. And behind her is something different. A figure, indistinct, almost translucent, holding her shoulder. You flip the photo over. It reads, LH 1990, still waiting, still baking. And then a line below that. Ask the flower where the exit hides. You sit on the floor for a long moment, just absorbing. You realize your palms are covered in chalk dust, but it's sticking to your hands like flour. You brush them together, and in the air the dust dances, tiny clouds that almost shape into letters, names, symbols. You stare, and in the floating haze you swear you see someone smiling. Someone who looks like you, but isn't. The humming returns. Not from the oven, not from behind a wall, but from inside you. As if, finally, the bakery recognizes you, not as a guest, but as part of its recipe. You stand. The chalk writing fades behind you, but a single sentence remains, etched just above the doorframe as you exit. History doesn't repeat, it bakes again. Back in the hallway, the lights seem dimmer. Or maybe your eyes are adjusting to something more invisible. The flower trail is gone now, but your feet still find their way forward. Like the floor remembers your weight, like the air has begun to anticipate your choices, and then you smell it again. Yeast and oranges, a hint of molasses, the kind of scent that usually means a special batch, birthday bread maybe, or something meant to be eaten on the anniversary of something you never celebrate anymore. You follow it into a new room that you know wasn't there before. It's wide, spacious, lined with filing cabinets, hundreds of them, floor to ceiling, and not a speck of dust in sight. They hum slightly, vibrating with something not quite mechanical, something lived in. Each drawer has a brass label. You read a few at random. Misremembered childhoods, AD. Smells that trigger grief, partial index. Customers, who returned, unchanged. The day before it happened. You open one just to see. Inside, not paper, but crusts, little crusts of bread, tagged, preserved, still holding their shape like they'd been plucked off a plate and filed instead of eaten. A tiny card is tucked inside the drawer. Batch 44, returned uneaten. Subject claimed no appetite. Left with tears. Did not understand why. You close it gently. The metal drawer sighs. At the center of the room, there's a long table. On it rests a rotary phone, bright red, the kind spies used in movies when they needed a direct line to nowhere. It rings once, then goes silent. You pick it up anyway, nothing but a dial tone. You pull it from your ear and see something written along the spiral cord, as though the words grew there. The oven always remembers who asked to forget. You don't put the phone down, you just stop holding it. Something shifts behind you. A quiet rustle, like pages turning themselves. You turn, and a single file drawer is slowly sliding open. It creaks softly, and inside is a photo album. You lift it out. It's labeled Taste Tests, Unauthorized Memories. You flip through the pages. The first image is a Polaroid of a man eating a roll. Mid-bite, eyes closed, a tear on his cheek. The caption reads, "Recalled the day he lost his dog. Flavor profile, smoky with a hint of wet earth." Next page, a woman laughing through a mouthful of sourdough. Caption, "First love, summer job. Memory previously thought fictional." Next, you. You don't remember this photo being taken. You're leaning against a wooden counter. There's a plate in front of you, empty. And you're smiling like someone who's just remembered the punchline to an old joke you thought no one else knew. The caption is shorter. Subject remembered, immediately regretted. You close the album, not out of fear, but because you do remember now. Not the bakery, not the bread, but the choice. There was a moment, years ago or days ago or in some dream version of time, you were offered a bite. You took it. You tasted something that felt like home, and heartbreak mixed into a recipe you couldn't name, and you asked to forget, not because it hurt, but because it mattered too much. You look up. The walls of the filing room begin to shift, just slightly like breathing. The air carries the faint sound of children laughing, or crying, or both. You hear footsteps behind you, soft and deliberate. You don't turn. You know better now. In this bakery, what follows you often isn't chasing. It's remembering. The laughter fades. A single word echoes through the room, whispered by flour in the vents, whispered by cabinets and warm metal and forgotten photos. Again, you understand? The bakery isn't just a place, it's a cycle, a loop in memory. A fermentation of grief and love and the sweet, awful ache of nostalgia. You walk toward the back of the room where a heavy door awaits. It's made of dark wood, and across the top, burned in deep black letters, "To those who've bitten twice." You reach for the handle. The moment your fingers touch it, you feel it, an echo of that first bite, the sweetness, the salt, the thing you didn't want to remember coming back, not like a wave, but like steam, soft, sudden, and already in your lungs before you notice. You open the door and step into the next chapter of something that's been baking since long before you were born. The door doesn't creak. It swings open like it knows you're coming, like it's done this 1,000 times. You step through, and the air immediately changes, heavier, denser, warm, like a rising loaf still in proof. You inhale, and the scent is different now. Not comforting, more ceremonial. Spices you can't name. Flour that smells faintly metallic. The heat of memory cooked too long in the back of your mind. The room is circular, round as a mixing bowl. The floor is tiled in a spiral, dough-colored stone inlaid with phrases that shimmer faintly beneath your steps. The bite is not the beginning. What rises must settle. Some loaves only cool in silence. In the center of the room stands a single table. And on that table, a small glass dome like the kind used to cover cakes. Beneath it is something simple, a half-eaten slice of bread. But not just any slice. You recognize it, or you think you do. It's the texture, maybe. The way the crust bends slightly toward the plate. The way the crumb is compressed right in the center. Someone pressed too hard when slicing. It's your bread from years ago. The one you threw away or tried to. You walk closer. There's a card beside it. Remains of first memory. Attempt batch. April 1998. Flavor, cinnamon regret. You smile a little, not because it's funny, but because something in you remembers trying to forget that exact day. The argument, the door slammed, the silence afterward, and how you bought a cinnamon roll on the walk back, just to feel like something could be sweet again. You didn't finish it. Apparently, someone did. The wall behind the table flickers, not light, but texture. Like reality is trying to push through, lumpy and uneven. Then words begin to surface on the tiles around you, pushing up like dough under heat. They form a timeline, not years, not dates, but batches. Each one labeled like a moment you didn't want, filed as flavor, batch 1973, first forgetting, batch 1981, the girl in the photo, batch 1990, the quiet bite, batch 2005, the child at lunch, batch 2023, you returned. Your hands are shaking now, not out of fear, but because you finally understand what's happening. This isn't a bakery. It's an archive, a living one. A place where memories go when they've been steeped in enough silence to bake into something edible. Where grief rises like dough and joy cools on racks of unfinished sentences. Where forgetting isn't a failure, it's just part of the recipe. And you've been here before. You chose to be here. Somewhere off to the left, a small panel in the wall slides open with a soft, apologetic click. A reel-to-reel tape recorder begins to turn. No wires, no plugs, just humming. You hear voices. Yours. Then someone else's, a girl, soft, laughing. It's too hot, let it rest. We don't have time. You always rush it. No, I just don't want it to cool before you taste it. A pause. Then the sound of a chair scraping. The recorder whirs, then stops. The silence that follows is thick. Heavy enough to chew. You sit down. The chair beneath you feels custom-made. Not for comfort, for fitting. It molds around your weight like it remembers.
How you've always sat. There's a knife on the table now. It wasn't there before. It's not threatening.
It's a butter knife, stainless steel, dull edge, safe. The kind of knife your mum let you use before you were old enough to use the sharp ones. The kind that made you feel grown up and safe all at once. Next to it, a note appears on fresh paper, as if typed just now. You don't have to eat it, but it will always be waiting. Sincerely, the recipe. You stand. You don't take the bite. Not yet. Because something behind you is opening. A hatch. Small. Just big enough for a person to crawl through. A soft breeze flows through it, cool and dusty, like wind moving through stacks of cookbooks and forgotten things. You walk toward it, glancing one last time at the half-eaten slice, and the dome fogs slightly, not from heat, but from breath. Someone else is watching, or maybe remembering. You duck into the hatch, crawl forward, and the last thing you hear before the hatch closes behind you is the low, familiar ding of an oven timer, but this time, no one moves to take it out. The crawl space is tighter than you expected, lined with old linoleum that smells faintly of vanilla and long extinguished pilot lights. You keep moving, elbows dragging, knees thudding softly. There's just enough room to breathe, just enough. Darkness to feel like you're moving through a memory that doesn't want to be remembered. Eventually, the tunnel opens into a small room, and you mean small. Closet-sized, panelled in wood, warped by time, with only a single object in the center.
An antique radio. It's the kind your grandfather kept in the garage.
Big knobs. Faux wood grain. Speaker fabric stretched tight like a secret, waiting to tear. But this one's on. No dials glowing. No stations playing. Just a soft crackle. And beneath it, that same low hum that's been following you since the first bite you didn't take. You sit. Because what else are you going to do? You stare at the radio, and after a moment, the static begins to shape itself. Not into voices, not yet. First, sounds, crackling bread crust, butter being spread, the tick of a cooling tray. Then whispers. She baked the first loaf for him. He never said thank you. They say the recipe came from a dream. No one remembers the flavor, only the aftertaste. You close your eyes and suddenly the air is thicker, warmer. A memory slinks up behind you like steam. You're sitting at a kitchen table, age 10. Someone's telling you a story. You're not sure who. Maybe your mother. Maybe someone who just sounds like her. There was
a town, she says, a little bakery. It always smelled like mornings. even at night.
You nod, not because you understand, but because stories told near warm food don't need understanding, just patience. They say the baker never left, that the ovens knew his name, that when someone forgot something important, the bakery sent them a loaf. What kind of loaf? You asked. The kind that doesn't taste like anything, she said, until you remember why you needed it. You open your eyes. The radio is silent again, but on the wall opposite you, a panel has slid open, revealing a stairwell lit by gentle yellow bulbs. Each bulb flickers once when you look at it, like blinking or nodding. You climb. The stairs creak in rhythm with your breath. At the top, you find a landing and a door labeled inventory, perishables, and permanent feelings. You hesitate because you already know what's inside. You open it anyway. It's cold, not freezer cold, memory cold, like the air in a room where someone once confessed something they swore they never would. The room is filled with shelves, and the shelves are filled with jars, hundreds of them, each labeled with a single word: guilt, laughter, almost, afternoon, please.
Unsent. Still, some jars glow faintly.
Others are dim, cracked, or wrapped in wax paper, as though too delicate to expose. You pick one up. Still, inside is a tiny piece of biscotti. It's dry, crumbling slightly. You remember it. From a cafe on a Tuesday afternoon. You'd had an awkward conversation there about change, about time, about what comes after. I don't know anymore. You didn't eat it? You saved it? Or maybe this place did. You put the jar back and continue down the aisle. At the far end of the cold room, a small figure sits at a table. You don't see her face, just her back, a grey sweater, hair pinned up. One hand resting on a stack of envelopes, the other holding a half-eaten roll. She doesn't look up, but she speaks. Her voice is low, distant, like you're remembering it while underwater. You took a bite once, she says, then asked us to take it back. Why? You ask. Because you weren't ready to carry it. And now? Now, she says, standing slowly. You've already carried it here. She turns, and you still don't recognize her. Not exactly, but her face is built from fragments. Cheekbones like your cousin's. Eyes like that friend you lost touch with. A voice stitched together from the women in your life who taught you how to measure flour by feel, not by scale. She nods to the far corner of the room where another oven glows, smaller than the last. Not warm. Waiting. There's a tray inside, covered in cloth. She walks to it and lifts the cloth gently. Inside, a single baguette, still raw. She looks at you. This one's for you to finish, not eat. And just like that, the cold air lifts slightly. A mixing bowl appears beside the oven and on the wall above it. Instructions. Remember, need, forgive. You don't know what you're doing, but your hands already do. You roll up your sleeves. You don't remember doing it, but suddenly your forearms are dusted in flour, and your palms carry that familiar tacky weight, the stickiness of unformed dough clinging to skin like guilt not yet named. The bowl before you is full of possibility, not just ingredients, moments. You reach in, it's warm, alive. The dough pulses slightly in your grip, not breathing exactly, but responding. You press your knuckles into it, fold, turn, fold again. The rhythm comes, naturally, like a lullaby hummed in muscle memory. The woman watches. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. You need. With every press, something surfaces, a name you forgot to call, a road you meant to turn onto but never did, the exact weight of a laugh you haven't heard since the summer your shoes got ruined in the lake. You don't stop. You can't. The dough is drinking your memories in, rising gently beneath your palms like it's saying, yes, yes, give me more. A bell dings behind you. You turn, it's a service counter. Just like at any bakery. Only the items displayed. Behind the glass aren't pastries. They're moments, folded into shapes that resemble food, but aren't. A slice of toast with the texture of a voicemail. A jelly roll that somehow smells like the inside of your father's old car. A loaf of sourdough resting on a newspaper, dated the day your grandfather died, and beside each item, a tiny card. You step closer to read one. Forgotten apology, 1996. Soft center. Slight bitterness, best served warm. Another. Unsent letter, 2012. Eerie, empty pockets, leaves mouth dry. A final one. The laugh that almost came back, unknown date. Crusty exterior, sweet finish, may cause tears. The woman nods toward your bowl. You look down. The dough is ready. No timer. You just know. You shape it without question, placing it gently on the tray beside the raw baguette you saw earlier. It sighs as it settles, like it's been waiting for this moment through many other unfinished ones. She opens the oven. The warmth is not just heat now, it's acceptance. The kind that doesn't ask you to move on, just to hold it long enough to move through. You slide the tray in. The door closes with a hush. Then the woman finally speaks again. Most people think forgetting is the tragedy. It isn't. What is? You ask. Baking without ever tasting. The walls around you shift again, not physically, but emotionally. Like the room is absorbing the truth of that statement. Like the tiles themselves are nodding. The jars on the shelves dim slightly, their contents settling. A new card appears on the counter. You walk to it, it reads, Inventory updated, added, 1-1. Loaf made by the rememberer. Status, uncut, untasted, fully risen. You feel full, not
in your stomach, in your chest. Like something you've been carrying just stood up and walked away. But not because it was erased, because it was finished. The oven dings, the loaf is ready. She offers it to you.
Wrapped in wax paper, folded precisely. There's a string tied around it, not fancy, just familiar. The kind your grandmother used for leftover pies. Take it with you, she says. Where? Wherever you need to go next, but remember, once you bite it, it becomes part of you. And the bakery won't call you back unless something's left unfinished. You nod. You turn to leave, loaf in hand. There's no hatch this time. No stairs. No creaking hallway. Just a screen door. Wooden frame, rusted mesh. You push it open, and outside, a quiet street, the smell of lilacs, no sign of the building you were just inside, just light wind. Your feet step out on their own. You breathe. You don't look back. But you do whisper, soft and unprompted. Thanks to
you don't expect an answer. But a wind chime somewhere nearby rings once, then twice, and then silence.
You walk. You don't know where you are, but the sidewalk feels familiar. The cracks in the concrete form shapes you think you've seen in dreams, loops and spirals, initials carved decades ago. Birds chatter in a way that sounds suspiciously like an old family recipe being passed around a table. The loaf in your hands is warm. Still. Not cooling. It pulses faintly like it's listening to your thoughts. You turn a corner. There's a small park. A bench under a maple tree. A breeze rustles the leaves, and for a moment it smells like the inside of that bakery. Like it followed you here. Or maybe you never really left. You sit, you unwrap the loaf slowly like it deserves ceremony. The wax paper crackles softly, and for a brief second you hear someone say your name, not aloud, but in your memory. Or the loaves. At this point, it's hard to tell the difference. You don't eat it, not yet, you just hold it. A woman jogs by, earbuds in, unaware. A child walks past, dragging a stick along a fence. Life continues, and you sit there in the middle of it, with a loaf that no one else can see and a heart full of things you thought you'd buried under laughter and to-do lists. Then something shifts. In the distance, a bell rings, not a church bell. A bakery bell. Your head turns automatically. But there's no shop, no glowing window, just a newspaper kiosk, a man reading the sports section, a dog sniffing a lamppost. You stand. The loaf tucked into your arm like a baby bird. You follow. The sound. It leads you to a building that wasn't there before. A dry cleaner, that's what the sign says. But inside, warmth. Flour dust in the air. A tray of rolls near the window. You step inside. The man behind the counter doesn't look up. He just says, "You're early." You open your mouth to ask something, but your voice doesn't come. Because deep inside, you understand. This is another layer. Another room. The bakery folds itself into spaces where forgetting happens, where remembering needs to happen. He motions to a small table in the corner. There's a note card beside a plate. You walk over. The plate is empty. The card reads, "Some guests eat nothing and leave full. Others eat everything and leave the same. You brought yours." You decide. You sit. You place the loaf on the plate. You stare at it. Your fingers tremble slightly as you tear off the first piece. It's soft. Steam escapes. And when you lift it to your mouth, the scent isn't just bread. It's Sunday mornings. It's the sound of your father's boots at the door. It's the way your mother used to say your name when you got it almost right. It's the taste of something you thought you'd lost forever. You bite. It doesn't explode with flavor. It settles. The way truth does. The way grief eventually stops screaming and starts whispering. You chew. And with every chew, a memory slides gently into place.
Not crashing, not breaking, just returning. You eat the whole slice, just one. That's enough. You wipe your hands on a napkin that wasn't there before, but feels like it always was. You stand to leave. The man behind the counter nods. You nod.
Back. No words are needed. Outside, the air is lighter. The breeze carries no message this time, just air. You feel full, not in your belly, but in your spine. Like you've been realigned. There's no sign above the door when you look back. Just a window, and behind it, a single roll on a plate, waiting for the next person who forgets just enough to find their way back. You leave the dry cleaner or bakery or whatever it was and walk until the street fades into softer things. Less city, more suggestion. Trees begin to outnumber streetlights. The pavement becomes gravel. And then just path. Dirt, soft, beneath your feet. The kind that feels old but welcoming. Like something built not to direct you, but to guide you gently without force. The loaf is gone now, not physically, just absorbed, as if it was never bread. only wait. And you've digested something more important than food. The quiet is comfortable. You could speak if you wanted, but there's no need. Even your thoughts have softened their edges like crust soaked in warm broth. Then you hear it again. The humming. But this time, it isn't coming from a room or a wall or a whispering appliance. It's coming from you. Somewhere low in your ribs, somewhere between breath and memory. Ahead, the trees part. A clearing opens at the center, a long wooden table, rustic, unpolished, the kind of table meant for passing dishes and secrets. It's set for many, plates of different sizes, cups that don't match, a tablecloth only partially covering the surface, patterned with strawberries. You smile at that, you sit at the closest seat. There's a place card. Your name, but not as it, appears on your ID or your work email. No. This is the name someone used for you when you were 5. The name only one person in your life ever used, and they stopped saying it when you stopped being soft. The plate in front of you is empty, but it's warm. A voice clears its throat gently. You look up. She's here again. The girl from the photo, from the classroom, from the picture wall where the shadows didn't fit. Except now, she's older. Maybe your age, maybe timeless. She sits across from you and begins slicing a loaf. One slow motion at a time. The knife doesn't tear, it doesn't struggle. It moves like it knows the way home. It's sourdough, she says. Why sourdough? Because it waits, she replies. It takes time. It asks you to remember every part of it before it gives you flavor. Is this real? Does it matter? She asks with a tilt of her head. She slides a slice onto your plate. Steam curls upward. Not hot, not aggressive, just inviting. Like a warm towel. Like breath on a window. You both eat in silence, and every bite tastes like something different. 1 bite. The first time you forgave someone who never said sorry. Another. The exact moment you realized someone was gone and wouldn't come back. A third, your childhood kitchen, lit by a storm, your hands sticky with dough, someone's laughter in the other room. You chew, slowly. You don't cry, but your shoulders drop 2 inches, the table begins to fill. You don't notice them arriving. They're just there. People with no names, but familiar postures. The kind of people you only see in dreams, stitched together from half memories and old yearbooks. Everyone eats slowly. No one speaks because the bread is doing the speaking. You look down the table. Someone is carving into a roll with a spoon. Inside is a note. They read it, smile, and vanish. No puff of smoke, no glowing light, just gone. The girl looks at you again. Everyone leaves when the recipe's done. You nod, mouth full, eyes soft. How do you know when it's done? When the bread doesn't fight you back, she stands. It's time. For what? The bakery's closing, just for now. The wind picks up, like curtains billowing. In a room you forgot to close. Everyone around the table finishes their last bite, stands and begins walking into the woods. Not rushed, not somber, just complete. You follow? The path reappears beneath your steps. The sky is darker now, but warm, the kind of twilight that doesn't ask questions. It just invites you to rest. And just before you vanish into the trees, you glance back. The table is gone. In its place, a single note written in flour on the ground. Return when the oven calls you. You smile because you know it will. And next time, maybe you'll bring a recipe of your own. The woods are quiet in a way that doesn't feel empty. It feels earned. Each step you take lands like punctuation, at the end of a long, winding sentence. You're not sure where you're headed, but your feet know. Your chest is lighter, your breath softer, and somewhere deep in your memory, or maybe just in your senses, the scent of warm crust lingers like a final word unsaid. A clearing opens ahead. Not large, just big enough for a cabin. It's crooked slightly, like it leaned toward something once and never corrected itself. Shutters hang unevenly. The door is painted robin's egg blue, peeling but still stubborn. A wooden sign swings gently above it, etched in careful script. Proofing room, authorized access only. You pause, then you knock. 3 times, no one answers. But the door creaks open on its own, of course. Inside, the room is bare. Just wood. Planks. A fireplace that hasn't been used in a long time. A rocking chair. A small rug made from threads that shift color when you look too long. There's a journal sitting on the windowsill, opened to a half-filled page. You walk to it, feeling like a trespasser and an invited guest all at once. The writing is soft, faded, almost reluctant to remain on the page. Today she remembered the song, just the chorus. But that's enough to start the next loaf. He came back, but didn't recognize the smell. We wrapped it for him anyway. Sometimes I think the oven bakes us more than we bake anything.
Else, time here doesn't pass. It waits, then folds. The pen lies beside it.
Ink still wet, you don't touch it. Not yet. Because something else catches your attention. A small wooden drawer under the sill. You open it. Inside, photographs, dozens, maybe hundreds, but they're not of people eating. Not like before, they're of people just before they remember. Mid-step, mid-thought, mid-breath. Their faces carry a weight that hasn't dropped yet, but is about to. Some are smiling, some terrified, some peaceful. You flip through and you stop. Your face. Again, younger.
Sitting on a couch.
Holding a sandwich, looking out a window, eyes unfocused. On the back. Tried to forget. Almost succeeded. Will try again in 18 years. You laugh, a small, tired laugh. The kind people only give when they're starting to forgive themselves. You leave the drawer open. There's a knock at the door, not loud. Just a tap-tap. Like a spoon on ceramic. You open it, and on the porch sits a paper bag. Folded neatly. Inside, a roll wrapped in wax paper. The note pinned to the outside simply says, "You forgot this." Again. You don't open it. You sit on the rocking chair, bread in your lap, and watch the sky shift outside the window. The trees blur slightly. The world spins gently, not around you, but under you, like you're being rotated into view again. After a while, the fireplace stirs, without flame, without smoke, just warmth, like a memory curling against your ankles, asking nothing. Just existing, you close your eyes, and a voice you've never heard, but somehow trust, whispers from somewhere behind the walls, "Let it rise, let it rest, let it feed you, only when you're ready." You whisper back, not in words, just a hum, or the same tune that's followed you since the bell above the bakery door first rang, and for once, you're not afraid to finish it. Morning doesn't arrive all at once. It seeps in, the kind of light that doesn't demand you wake, just nudges you softly toward the idea. You open your eyes to find the cabin unchanged but warmer. The wax paper wrapped roll still rests in your lap, untouched. But now it's begun to cool, not in a sad way, in a ready way, like it's waited long enough for you to decide what to do with it. You rise from the rocking chair. There's no mirror in the room, but something tells you you look different now, not older, just clearer. As if a layer of flour dust has been wiped from the part of you that used to squint at old memories and wonder if they really happened. Outside, the world is hushed. The woods have softened, edges blunted by fog and distance. But the path remains, damp, steady, familiar. You walk. The bread in your hands feels lighter now, even though you haven't eaten it. Maybe because carrying it is no longer a burden, but a choice. A short distance ahead, you see it, a signpost, wooden, tilted. It reads, "Delivery route, loaves for the forgotten." Next stop, you decide. You smile because that's how it's always worked, hasn't it? The bakery doesn't tell you where to go. It just makes sure you leave with something worth carrying. Down the trail, there's a fork. To the left, a winding path with warm lamplight strung between the trees. You think you hear laughter, faint, like family gatherings remembered through windows. To the right, a narrow trail lined with mailboxes. Hundreds of them. Old metal ones, hand-painted ones. One is shaped like a cat, another like a toaster, each labeled with a name or a phrase: the cousin who called too late, that one teacher, your second apartment, almost hers, me, eventually. You realize what this is, a place to leave what you've baked. You take the path to the right. With each step, the roll in your hand seems to hum slightly, like it knows where it wants to go. You stop in front of a faded blue mailbox. The lettering is smudged, but you recognize it. You open the lid. Inside, empty space. Not dark, not echoing. Just open. You place the bread inside. It fits perfectly. You don't leave a note. You don't need to. As you close the lid, the flag on. The side lifts by itself. A quiet acknowledgement. Received, you exhale. The kind of breath that comes only after finishing something that didn't have a name until now. You walk back to the fork. This time, you take the other path because the delivery's done. And now, it's time to rest. Ahead, you see a new structure forming through the trees. Not the bakery, not a cabin. Something new. A small house with a porch swing and a bread box by the door. Waiting. You know what comes next. You'll stay there for a while, maybe forever. Maybe just long enough. Maybe you'll start baking, or maybe, when someone new arrives, you'll be the one behind the counter. You don't have to decide now. The oven will tell you when it's time. And as the trail behind you fades into mist and flower and quiet song, you whisper something old. Let it rise, let it rest, let it remember. The little house at the end of the trail isn't much to look at, and that's exactly why it's perfect. It blends into the fog like it's always belonged there. Wooden slats silvered by time, a crooked mailbox shaped like a teacup, and windows fogged from the inside with warmth you haven't yet felt, but already trust. You step onto the porch. The swing creaks gently in the breeze, though no one is sitting in it. A sign hangs above the door, burned into old wood, edges softened by sun and rain. Proofed and ready. Come in when you're full. Stay until you're empty. You don't knock this time, you just enter. Inside, the air is still warm, not just from baking, but from life. There's a coat rack shaped like a tree limb, an old kettle humming even though no one's in the kitchen, and shelves lined with books that don't have titles, just smells. Clove, sun-warmed cotton, old notebook, safety. There's no sign of the bakery here, but it feels like the same place. Or maybe the bakery was never a single building. Maybe it's a presence that follows certain people once they've been folded and risen and cooled just right. You sit at the kitchen table, a cup of tea has already been poured for you. It's not hot, but warm enough to be kind. You sip. It tastes like things left unsaid, but not painfully so. You walk to the back window. Outside, the woods go on forever, dotted with faint lights, like ovens still glowing. You understand now these are other kitchens. Other people who remembered, or tried to. The lights flicker in a soft rhythm, like breathing. You turn back. There's a small envelope on the table now, not addressed. Just waiting. You open it. Inside, a recipe card, but not a recipe for bread, a recipe for returning. Recipe. To come back. 1 cup, silence. 2 tablespoons forgotten laughter. Some memory you swore wasn't real. Mix gently.
Let sit overnight. Serve only when no one's looking. You place it on the fridge where it belongs. A knock sounds at the door. Not rushed, not loud, just enough to say, someone needs something they forgot they lost. You open it. No one there, but
on the porch, a small wicker basket. Inside, a cracked photograph of someone mid-laugh, a single crust of rye bread, and a napkin with 1 word scribbled on it. Please. You smile. You bring it inside. You know what to do. You've become the bakery now, and that doesn't mean you stop remembering. It means you start holding space for others to do the same. Some will come with nothing. Some will bring crumbs. Some will sit and never say a word. You'll feed them anyway. Because once you've eaten the bread that remembers you, you never stop baking, even in your sleep, even in your silence. Even when the oven's cold and the light flickers and the wind outside whispers someone else's name. You'll bake because that's the only way we ever return to ourselves. It begins, as it always does, with a single sound. Ding somewhere in the house. No, the bakery, an oven calls. Not urgently, just patiently. Like a timer you set for a loaf you weren't sure you'd ever finish. The air changes again. Flour dusted, memory laced. You know this rhythm now. You are this rhythm now. You rise from the table. The house seems to rearrange itself gently around your steps. Rooms you hadn't noticed before appear. A pantry with no walls, filled with jars labeled by seasons. A hallway lined with aprons, stitched, with stories you never told. A drawer that smells exactly like the couch from your first apartment, where you used to sit and pretend bread, and books were enough. You reach the oven. It's different this time. Smaller, older, but impossibly clean. Like it's never burned anything, like it's only ever been used by someone who knows. Inside, 1 final loaf. It's not yours, but it's yours to deliver. Wrapped in soft linen, still warm, humming faintly like a heart learning how to trust again. A tag is tied to it with frayed string. Delivered to the one who never believed it was for them. You cradle it with both hands. It's heavier than it should be, but only in the way a truth is heavy. It asks nothing of you. It just waits. You step out onto the porch again. This time, the path ahead is clearer. No fog, no twists. Just a simple dirt road flanked by fields of tall grass swaying in rhythm. You start walking. The air is filled with the distant hum of ovens you'll never visit, loaves you'll never slice, moments baked and sealed in wax paper by strangers who understand you without ever knowing your name. And as you walk, you remember. Not everything, just enough. You remember the girl in the photo, the the humming from the radio, the bite you didn't take, the ones you finally did, the person who left the bakery and came back different, the laughter that only returned after silence, the flavor of forgiveness, the crust of grief, the yeast
of hope. Ahead, in the distance, you see a figure waiting by a gate. You recognize the posture, but not the face.
Not yet. As you draw closer, the figure smiles and holds out their hands, not to take the loaf from you, but to steady it, to share the weight. You hand it over. They nod, not a thank you, something simpler, deeper, like an old friend saying you made it back without needing to ask where you went. You turn. You could go back to the house, back to the oven, back to the table with the mismatched cups. But instead you sit down right there in the middle of the road. The sun's beginning to lower. The bread is gone now, the bakery is quiet, and you are full. Not with food, but with story, with rest, with the exact right amount of remembering. You lie back. The grass hums. The wind carries flour through the air, dancing like dust motes in a beam of morning light. And somewhere, faint but familiar, ding, a new oven calls. But not for you. Not tonight. Tonight, you sleep, and you dream of warm hands, golden crust, and the sound of someone humming in a kitchen far away, still baking.